Hey, this is Cindy with Monarch Mom DIY. On my channel, I do home decor and craft DIYs on a budget. So if that's something you're interested in, I hope you'll stick around and consider subscribing. Today, I have 3 farmhouse DIYs for the kitchen. Enjoy! For the first project, I'm using some buffalo check scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, 2 cutting boards from Dollar Tree, a paint stick, a wooden dowel, Mod Podge, craft paint in crimson, and this crate that I made in a previous video using 6 Dollar Tree rulers and 2 of these 5" by 5" square pictures. I will link that video in the cards above and in the description box. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a paint stick to the bottom. I will paint it white just to fill in that gap. Next, I'm taking my 2 cutting boards. I had white on hand. If I had the red ones from Dollar Tree, I would not need to do this next step, actually the next couple steps, but I'm going to take my crimson Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to give each of these cutting boards 2 coats all over. It looks like I'm leaving the rectangle in the middle white, but then I decided that would show through the scrapbook paper maybe, so I did end up painting the entire cutting board front and back with the red chalk paint. Now this is about a 1/2 inch wooden dowel. It's about 18 inches long, and I just showed there that I was going to paint it with black chalk paint. Once my cutting boards were dry, I'm measuring that rectangle in the middle, and I'm going to cut 2 rectangles of the scrapbook paper. It is 5 inches wide and 7 inches tall. So I will be making 2 of those rectangles of paper. I'm only putting the scrapbook paper on one side of each cutting board, and you'll see why in a second. This is a fun tool. It's from We Are Memory Keepers. It is a corner chomper. It has 2 different sizes of corner rounding, and the 1/4 inch size just matched the rounding of the cutting boards perfectly. So here I am attempting what I saw another YouTuber do with a glue stick and attaching the scrapbook paper with that first, and then doing the Mod Podge on top. And I will say I was very pleased. As long as you let the glue stick dry completely before you Mod Podge, you really have a lot less bubbles. So that is a great little tip. I believe that was Heidi Sonbull with Heidi Sonbull DIY. But anyway, I'm just using a little scraper, making sure they're flat. Once that is completely dry, I will give my cutting boards a good coat of my matte finish Mod Podge. This is a larger bottle than they sell at Dollar Tree, but it is the same kind. So once my Mod Podge was completely dry, I did take my 2 cutting boards and give them a coat of the clear gloss finish spray, and this is why I did not put the scrapbook paper on the other side, because I'm going to attach these cutting boards on either end of my little crate here. I'm using a combination of Dollar Tree's Fix All Adhesive and also my Gorilla Hot Glue in between and around the Fix All Adhesive. So I did make a little mark on my cutting board to mark where the top of my crate was, so I didn't put any glue above that. And I simply did this to both cutting boards, attached it. The square picture fits right in the middle of the cutting boards. Now for the inside, I had Mod Podged some of these coloring pages on these square glass vases that you can get from Dollar Tree for a different project. I ended up not using them, so I'm just going to add them to this project. I'm giving them 2 coats of the Waverly chalk paint in crimson again, and I had to do 2 coats because of those dark black lines. I was trying to cover them up as much as possible. So 2 coats again of the Waverly chalk paint, and then they will end up going inside the crate. Now our crate is all dry. We'll take our black dowel and our little glass jars. Those fit inside perfectly. And with our dowel, we can have a roll of paper towels that will hang there. The little glass jars inside can hold your sponge, your scrubby, a brush, your dish soap, and this is how I have this in this little spot in my kitchen next to my sink. It's exactly what I needed to help organize that space. So I hope you enjoyed this first DIY for the kitchen. On to number 2. For the second project, I'm using a scrap piece of wood, some spray paint, 4 recycled soup cans, and also a wood cutting board. But the first thing I'm going to do is spray paint that base piece of wood with black spray paint. The next thing I'm doing is using my favorite little corner edging that you see me use before, and I measured it the width of my cutting board. I'm going to cut 2 of these with my little miter. I don't even call it a saw. It's like a little knife, but it works really great for cutting small pieces of wood like this. Sand the edge and we're good to go. I just put it on top of the other piece, mark my spot, and cut myself a second piece. And I'm going to paint these black with my black chalk paint, my Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. And the reason I wanted to use these, you'll see in just a minute, is they're going to be little bracing pieces between my base piece of wood and my cutting board so that my cutting board will stand up straight and won't risk falling over on either side. So here I'm measuring to try and make sure my cutting board is going to be in the middle of my square piece of wood. And I'm going to use a combination of the Fix All Adhesive and my Gorilla Wood Glue to get this pretty heavy solid wood cutting board. I found these at a thrift store in different sizes, and there's my token shoulder pick. Make something for the kitchen here with this cutting board and this piece of wood. So here I'm just wiping away the excess glue that is seeping out, and I'm just going to put a couple jars on either side of the cutting board until the glue has started to dry. Once the cutting board is dried, I'm taking some more of my wood glue, and now I'm attaching those little corner edging pieces to the front and back side of the cutting board. It gives it kind of a nice finished look, and like I said before, it just helps reinforce the cutting board standing up straight. Next, I took my 4 cans out to the garage and I spray painted them with the Rust-Oleum white spray paint. They are dry now, and I'm taking this burlap with lace ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I measured around one of the cans and am now cutting 4 pieces and will hot glue them around the center of each of my 4 cans. And here's all 4 of the cans with the burlap ribbon attached. Next, I'm taking 4 of my tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, and with just a black Sharpie marker, I'm writing spoons, forks, knives, and napkins will go on the 4th one. So my idea for this is like a little utensil caddy for picnics or just to keep in the kitchen. If you're having people over, you can set it out. And I'm just hot gluing these tumbling tower blocks to the front of each can, right in the center of the lace on the ribbon. And the last step for this project is to use a little bit more of our All Adhesive to the bottom of each can, as well as some Gorilla Hot Glue in between, and attach our 4 cans to our base piece of wood so that they will be permanently attached to our caddy. Looks like the hot glue wasn't going to work too well, so I ended up just using the All Adhesive all the way around. So I think it's good to sometimes keep in those little fixes that you have to make to your original plan, so you guys can see that even though we make these videos and do crafts all the time, things don't always go the way we planned. So all 4 cans will be attached to the base and our caddy will be complete. And here it is, a little close-up look for you. I have it sitting on a Lazy Susan just so I can spin it and show it to you. So I thought this was a really fun, creative way to reuse a cutting board from a thrift store and some recycled cans, as well as a scrap piece of wood. Now, if you don't have those things, here are a couple Dollar Tree items you could use for the same idea. I maybe would double up the cutting boards, but you could attach that there on one of these type of signs and use your cans as well. For my 3rd project today, I'm using 8 of these frames with the wood look and the galvanized metal with the clip, some Scrabble tiles, some black Waverly chalk paint, also some red Waverly chalk paint, some 5-gallon paint sticks, and a couple different sizes of craft sticks. So the first thing I'm going to do with my 8 frames is I'm going back and forth, remove the piece that makes these frames stand up. Then after removing the metal and the backing, I'm just giving these a coat of Waverly chalk paint in black, the inside and also then around the front of each frame and the outside edges. So all 8 of my frames, I'm doing this painting with the black chalk paint. And once the paint is dry, you can go ahead and return the galvanized metal with the clip and the backing to each of the frames. Sometimes I had to try a couple different frames just to get everything to fit in, but you just push back down those metal clips on the back. Now with my 8 frames, the first thing I'm going to do is glue them side by side in pairs of 2 using my Gorilla Wood glue. I decided I wanted to use some 5-gallon paint sticks to build a frame around my 8 frames. So I took 4 of those larger craft sticks, paint sticks, and I cut them at 10.5 inches and then 5 3/4 inches. So I had 4 pieces that were 10.5 and 4 pieces that were 5 3/4. I am going to give them also a coat of crimson chalk paint. I just happen to have those colors in my kitchen. So once those were dry, you can see on the back here, I have also reinforced my frames with some craft sticks, but I'm going to use Fix All Adhesive and hot glue to now glue these pieces to the back of my frames. This one is starting at the very center and it will overhang about 1 inch. I'm gluing these to the back so it kind of gives the frames a pop out effect from this red frame. So I will do 2 of the longer pieces at the top. The other 2 will eventually go at the bottom, and then my 4 smaller pieces will go down each side of my rectangle of frames here. I didn't show on camera, but I did end up taking those 4 pairs of frames and gluing those together. And then as you can see, I said reinforcing them with the craft sticks. So you can see I put the other paint sticks on the bottom half of the sides and then across the bottom. I did want to take some of these larger craft sticks on the back also, just to reinforce where 2 came together. And then I took some Scrabble tiles and I put the days of the week and labeled those, hot glued them on each of my frames. You could use this for a memo board, for calendar happenings, or menu board. So I wanted to show you, you can see those black frames are sticking up out from that paint stick frame, and this is how I'll probably hang it, by putting nails in those 2 corners. So thanks so much for watching today, you guys. If you enjoy home decor videos like this, please give this video a big thumbs up. Again, I hope you'll consider subscribing if you have not already. I just love bringing you guys videos twice a week, and I thank you so much for watching and liking and commenting. God bless.